The wilderness is unpredictable, and even the most experienced adventurers can meet a terrible fate. In this video, we'll look at 5 more real stories of outdoor adventures that ended in the worst possible way. These are not just accidents, they are chilling reminders of how quickly things can go wrong in the wild. It was February 13, 2017, in Delphi, Indiana. Best friends Abigail Williams, 13, and Liberty German, 14, decided to spend the afternoon hiking near the Monon High Bridge. It was a winter day, and the girls were eager to enjoy the outdoors. At 2:07 p.m., Liberty posted a photo of Abigail on the bridge. No one knew this would be their last moment captured. Shortly after, something went wrong. Liberty's phone recorded a man's voice calmly telling them to go down the hill. He was dressed in blue jeans, a blue jacket, and a cap. His words were the last thing the girls would ever hear. When Liberty's father arrived to pick them up later that day, the girls were nowhere to be found. Concerned, their families called the police, and a search began that evening. The next day, volunteers discovered their bodies in a wooded area about half a mile from the bridge. For years, investigators kept many details private. However, it was later revealed that Liberty's body was found unclothed, while Abigail was wearing Liberty's sweatshirt and jeans. Authorities believed the person responsible had deliberately arranged them, making the case even more unsettling. One crucial clue came from Liberty's phone. She had recorded a grainy video of a man walking toward them. Though his face wasn't clear, the footage, along with his voice, became key pieces of evidence. However, despite these leads, the case remained unsolved for years. Authorities followed numerous tips, but none led to answers. Then, in October 2022, there was a breakthrough. Richard Allen, a 51-year-old local man, was arrested. A pharmacy technician at the Delphi Consumer Value Stores, Allen had lived in the community for years, making his arrest a shock to many. The evidence against him came from an unspent .40 caliber bullet found near the crime scene. Ballistics testing linked it to a Sig Sauer Model P226 handgun owned by Allen. Investigators also confirmed that Allen had been on the Monon High Bridge trail that afternoon. At first, Allen denied any involvement. He admitted he had been on the trail but insisted he never saw the girls. However, a 2017 interview revealed he had placed himself at the scene around the time of the incident. When questioned about the bullet, he couldn't explain why it was there, raising further suspicions. His arrest brought relief to the families and the community, but the legal process was just beginning. He was charged and held without bail. In 2023, court documents revealed disturbing new details. The girls had been harmed with a sharp object, and evidence suggested a firearm had been involved. Investigators also discovered that sticks and branches had been arranged around their bodies. Some believed this had a symbolic meaning, though authorities never confirmed those theories. As the investigation continued, authorities looked into Keegan Kline, a man accused of exploiting minors online. Kline had used a fake social media profile, Anthony Shots, to communicate with young girls, including Liberty. Investigators considered whether he had any connection to the Delphi case, but no direct link was ever found. He denied involvement, and the focus remained on Allen. Other suspects had been considered, including Ron Logan, the owner of the property where the girls were found. Early on, investigators questioned Logan after finding inconsistencies in his alibi, but he was never charged and passed away in 2020. Despite years of searching, Allen's name had never surfaced until the bullet linked him to the crime. Then, Allen's defense team introduced an unexpected claim. They argued that the crime was connected to a secretive group practicing an Old Norse belief system. They pointed to the way the bodies were arranged and markings found at the scene. However, law enforcement found no solid proof of this theory, and it remained speculation. Despite these claims, the case against Allen only grew stronger. In June 2023, court records revealed that while in jail, he had made several phone calls where he admitted to being responsible. These statements were recorded and used as evidence against him. The trial was set for 2024, but unexpected delays followed. A scandal involving leaked crime scene photos forced his defense attorneys to resign, further pushing back the trial date. While setbacks frustrated the community, the hope for justice remained strong. Had the bullet never been found, would Allen have remained free? If he had never made those phone calls, would investigators have gotten the confirmation they needed? While answers have finally started to emerge, the Delphi case remains a haunting mystery, one that has left a lasting impact on everyone who followed it. It was February 8, 2023, in Torres del Paine, Chile. Bruno Barria Matamala, A 30-year-old tour guide was working near Lake Nordenskjöld in Torres del Paine National Park. For more than 7 years, he had been a part of Reserva Las Torres, guiding visitors through Patagonia's breathtaking landscapes. His love for nature, horses, and the wilderness made him well respected in his field. That day, Bruno was leading a group of tourists on horseback near the shores of Lake Nordenskjöld. The lake, though stunning, was known for its cold, deep waters, reaching up to 200 meters in some places. The group was enjoying the scenery when a tourist's hat was caught by the wind and blown into the lake. Without hesitation, Bruno decided to retrieve it. He rode his horse into the icy water, assuming it would be a simple task. But as he ventured deeper, the lake's strong currents became overwhelming. Suddenly, his horse was seen returning alone to shore. Bruno was gone. The horse eventually reached the hotel without him, triggering immediate concern. Staff members quickly launched a search, but Bruno was nowhere to be found. Authorities were notified and a large-scale rescue operation began. The Carabineros, Chile's national police, arrived first, followed by the Chilean Navy, which provided boats and specialized equipment. Despite their efforts, there was no sign of Bruno. The lake's poor visibility, combined with its dangerous depths, made the search incredibly difficult. By the next day, February 9th, the search had intensified. The Chilean Navy deployed boats, but the murky water, which allowed for only 25 centimeters of visibility, posed a major challenge. The lake covered 28 square kilometers, making it nearly impossible to locate him quickly. Divers and underwater robots were brought in, but the search remained slow and uncertain. As days passed, the situation grew more concerning. The unpredictable weather in Patagonia made conditions even harder for rescuers. However, the search team refused to give up. Volunteers, divers from Punta Arenas, and various organizations joined the effort, hoping to find any trace of Bruno. After 6 long days on February 14th, the search finally came to an end. The Chilean Navy recovered Bruno's body from the lake, near the spot where he had last been seen. His remains were found using a net dragged along the lakebed, bringing closure to the days-long operation. The discovery was heartbreaking for everyone involved. Reserva Las Torres issued a statement confirming his passing and expressed deep sorrow over the loss of a beloved colleague and friend. Bruno had been an important part of their team, admired for his dedication, kindness, and love for the outdoors. His body was taken to the legal medical service in Puerto Natales for an autopsy to confirm the cause of death. Early findings suggested that the freezing water and strong currents had likely overwhelmed him. His horse, sensing danger, had managed to return to shore alone, but Bruno had disappeared beneath the surface. His passing was a devastating loss for the community and a painful reminder of the risks faced by even the most experienced guides. What started as a simple act of kindness, retrieving a hat for a tourist, had ended in an unimaginable tragedy. Bruno's story quickly spread across Chile, leaving many in shock. His death raised concerns about the dangers of Patagonia's wilderness. While Torres del Paine is a world-renowned destination, it is also a place where nature's power can be unforgiving. As the investigation continued, many wondered if anything could have been done differently. The poor visibility of the lake made it difficult for rescuers to find him in time. Could advanced technology have helped? Or was it simply an accident that could not have been prevented? For those who knew Bruno, his absence leaves an unfillable void. His love for nature, his passion for guiding others, and his kindness will always be remembered. His tragic fate serves as a lasting reflection on the unpredictable forces of nature and the risks that come with exploring its beauty. It was November 5th, 2020, when 34-year-old Cassandra Bravo left her home in Riverside, California. A dedicated nurse and single mother of 2, she had planned a solo day hike to Mount Whitney, one of California's most challenging peaks. It was supposed to be a quick trip, but when she didn't return that evening, her family grew concerned. The next day, her car was found at the Whitney Portal trailhead, the starting point of her hike. With no sign of her, fear quickly set in. Her family and friends knew she had gone alone, but they never expected her to disappear. When no one could reach her, they reported her missing, and authorities launched a search. The Inyo County Sheriff's Office quickly mobilized, joined by family, friends, and volunteers. As the hours passed with no sign of Cassandra, their worry deepened. Then, on Saturday morning, searchers found her. She had fallen about 100 feet down a steep slope. Miraculously, she had survived the fall and spent 2 nights in freezing conditions. With temperatures dropping to -20 degrees Fahrenheit with the wind chill, her survival was remarkable. Dressed only in a tank top and leggings, she had crawled behind a large log for shelter, doing everything she could to stay alive. When rescuers reached her, she was conscious but severely injured. She was airlifted to Antelope Valley Hospital in Lancaster, but her condition was critical. Despite their efforts, she passed away shortly after arrival. Her 10-year-old son, Jonathan, was able to say goodbye. Holding her hand, he told her he loved her. For a child to lose a mother so suddenly is devastating, but he was grateful to have that final moment with her. Cassandra's resilience left a lasting impression. Her close friend Luisa Moya described her as badass for enduring 2 nights in such brutal conditions. She said that Cassandra's spirit was so strong. Even in her last moments, Cassandra fought to survive. Her mother, Elizabeth Hawley, remembered her daughter as a fighter, recalling how Cassandra played tackle football as a child and stood up for her younger brother. That strength was evident throughout her life and even in her final days. At Loma Linda University Medical Center, where she worked as a nurse, colleagues mourned her loss. The hospital released a statement calling her an incredible woman, mother, friend, and nurse. She was passionate about her work and a fierce advocate for her patients. Those who worked closely with her recalled her no-nonsense attitude. Friend and co-worker Rebecca Villaseñor initially found Cassandra intimidating. She thought it was best not to get on her bad side. However, as she got to know her better, Rebecca realized that Cassandra had a deep love for those around her. Above all, Cassandra was devoted to her children, Jonathan and 7-year-old Prudence. She wasn't just a mother to them, she was a mother figure to many. Villaseñor remembered how Cassandra bought a minivan just so all the neighborhood kids could fit in. Jonathan spoke of his mother's constant care. She always made sure he was safe and that everyone around him was happy. She was protective, ensuring he wore a helmet when riding his bike and keeping a watchful eye on his surroundings. Her love for her children was evident in everything she did. Cassandra's sudden passing left a deep impact on her family, friends, and community. A GoFundMe page was set up to support her children, and it raised over $50,000 to help provide for them. While her life ended in tragedy, those who knew Cassandra remember her strength, dedication, and love for her family. She was a fighter, and that spirit will not be forgotten. It was August 12, 2023, in Germany's Berchtesgadener Alps National Park, a place known for its breathtaking views and challenging terrain. Dr. Dmitry Fedyanin, a 34-year-old Russian scientist, was hiking alone when a tragic accident took his life. Fedyanin, a respected researcher at the Moscow Institute of Physics and Technology, has made significant contributions to the study of nanoscale and quantum optoelectronics. He received prestigious awards, including the Medal of the Russian Academy of Sciences in 2011 and the European Material Research Society Young Scientist Award in 2012. But far from his lab and scientific achievements, his final moments unfolded in the mountains. Dr. Fedyanin had been using a hiking app to navigate his way down toward Gotzenalm, near Königssee Lake. The app, meant to provide a safe route, led him onto an unmarked path with no clear trails. The area was covered in grass patches and loose rocks, making it difficult to navigate. Unlike experienced hikers who might have recognized the danger, he relied on the app's directions. At some point, he lost his footing. He slipped on the rocky ground and fell about 492 feet, or 150 meters, down the Hoherlafeld Peak. The impact was fatal. Authorities later determined that he had been alone when the accident happened and there were no signs of foul play. Concern grew when Dr. Fedyanin failed to return. His landlord, noticing his untouched bed, raised the alarm. A search was launched, and after a day of searching, rescue teams spotted his body from a helicopter at the base of the peak. His injuries were severe, and paramedics confirmed he had not survived the fall. Investigators concluded that his reliance on the hiking app likely contributed to his accident. Tragically, Dr. Fedyanin was not the only hiker to lose his life in the Berchtesgadener Alps that week. On the same day, a 29-year-old Austrian woman fell while hiking on the Hochkalter Peak. The day before, a 57-year-old woman from the Black Forest suffered a fatal fall while hiking with her husband, who could do nothing but watch. These accidents highlight how unpredictable and dangerous mountain terrain can be, even for those who seem prepared. Despite his expertise in science, Dr. Fedyanin may not have fully understood the risks of hiking in such a rugged environment. The app, which was meant to guide him safely, instead led him to an unsafe path. This raises concerns about over-reliance on technology in situations where human judgment and experience are crucial. His death came as a shock to colleagues and friends, who knew him as a brilliant scientist and a dedicated researcher. He had spent years making advancements in optoelectronics and ultraviolet light studies. His passing was a loss to the scientific community, but it also served as a reminder of how unpredictable nature can be. Hiking is a rewarding experience, but it comes with risks. A small misstep, a lapse in judgment, or reliance on the wrong tools can lead to serious consequences. The mountains, while beautiful, are also unforgiving. Dr. Fedyanen's story leaves us with many questions. Could this have been prevented if he had used traditional navigation methods instead of an app? Would things have been different if he had been hiking with a partner? These are the kinds of decisions that can mean the difference between a safe journey and a tragic accident. In the end, his story is a powerful reminder to approach nature with caution. Even the most intelligent and accomplished individuals are not immune to the dangers of the wilderness. When venturing into the outdoors, preparation, awareness, and respect for the environment are just as important as the adventure itself. In July 2011, Roland Wessling and his partner, Hazel Woodhams, went on a camping trip near Great Yarmouth. They were an adventurous couple who enjoyed the outdoors. Roland worked as a forensic archaeologist and Hazel was a crime scene officer with the West Yorkshire Police. During their trip, they spent time canoeing and exploring the Norfolk Broads. That evening, they cooked a simple meal of sausages and baked potatoes using a portable barbecue. As the sun set, they sat outside, enjoying the peaceful evening. Once they finished eating, the barbecue burned out. It was cold to the touch, with no smoke or embers. They didn't think twice about it. At home, they had a carbon monoxide detector, but they hadn't brought one on their trip. To them, the barbecue seemed harmless. Later that night, as the weather turned, they decided to bring the barbecue inside their tent to protect it from rain. The tent was sealed, and they went to sleep, unaware of the danger inside. Carbon monoxide is an invisible, odorless gas that can be deadly. Even when a fire appears to be out, it can still release this gas. Inside a sealed space like a tent, the gas has nowhere to escape and can quickly build up to dangerous levels. As they slept, the toxic gas filled the tent. The next morning, Roland woke up feeling disoriented. His right arm was numb and his body felt weak. At first, he struggled to understand what was happening. Then, he turned to Hazel. She wasn't moving. She wasn't breathing. Panic took over. Roland screamed for help, but their campsite was secluded and no one heard him. He fumbled for his phone and managed to call 999. His speech was slurred and he struggled to tell the operator where they were. The dispatcher urged him to call for help again. This time, someone nearby heard him. An off-duty police officer responded and quickly called for emergency services. When paramedics arrived, Roland was rushed to the hospital. His condition was critical. Doctors found extremely high levels of carbon monoxide in his blood. The poisoning had also caused damage to his kidneys and nervous system, leaving his arm numb. He remained in intensive care for weeks. Meanwhile, Hazel was declared dead at the scene. She had passed away during the night, never realizing what was happening. The inquest confirmed that carbon monoxide poisoning was the cause. The coroner ruled her death accidental, explaining that even though the barbecue had seemed extinguished, it had still been releasing toxic fumes inside the tent. The tragedy turned Roland's world upside down. He had lost the woman he loved in a way that was completely unexpected and preventable. Hazel had been a dedicated officer and a joyful presence in his life. Now she was gone. As he recovered, he couldn't stop thinking about how things could have been different. The inquest findings reinforced how dangerous carbon monoxide can be. Because it has no smell or color, people don't always realize the risk. Many assume that once a fire is out, it's safe. But as Roland and Hazel's story showed, that's not always true. Roland, a scientist by profession, felt the need to understand what had happened. He started researching carbon monoxide exposure and how it relates to enclosed spaces. His work at Cranfield University shifted towards studying fuel combustion and tent ventilation to prevent similar accidents. Determined to stop others from facing the same fate, Roland launched a campaign to spread awareness about carbon monoxide poisoning. He spoke to groups, shared his experience, and warned people about the dangers of bringing barbecues into enclosed spaces. His message was clear. Carbon monoxide poisoning is an overlooked risk. Many people don't realize that even when a fire seems completely out, the gas can still be present. Roland's advocacy efforts were backed by research, which showed that this type of poisoning is more common than most think, especially in situations involving charcoal or wood-burning fires. Although his work helped raise awareness, the pain of losing Hazel never faded. He thought about their time together, their adventures, and the life they had planned. She wasn't there to share it with him anymore. Roland's efforts raised awareness about the hidden dangers of carbon monoxide. Though he couldn't change the past, he hoped his work would save lives. Years later, driven by the memory of a tragic night, he pushed for better education on the risks. The grief of losing Hazel stayed with him, fueling his mission to ensure her story was never forgotten. He will always wonder if things could have been different had they known the dangers of carbon monoxide.